Hey guys, this is John. I'm playing Fritzka in the 5-minute pool on ICC. This is an opponent I recognize from Christoph's games, actually. I think he plays this player quite a bit. And, oh man. Okay, I'm going to do the exchange variation. I apologize for you guys who don't like endgames, but I've had a lot of success with this line. And I don't think it's so easy for black to equalize if they're not sure of the theory. So, knight d5 is one way to play this. Bishop g5 is another way to go. And here they usually play c6 and challenge the pawn, so I'll play bishop c4. I think this is a pretty practical weapon for shorter time controls, especially. I mean, as white, you can confidently reel off a lot of moves if you're familiar with the ideas. Whereas for black, I think it takes a little bit longer to recall the theory, even if you're comfortable with it. So here I'll play bishop g5, attack the rook. He doesn't want to play f6 because I play d takes c6 with check, and that would be disastrous because I'd win that bishop. So here, rook c1 is the move. And then they play a5, usually, trying to threaten a4, chasing the light square bishop from this diagonal. So in reply to a5, I'll play a3, so as to be able to drop the bishop back to a2 if necessary. I've had a couple games in this line, especially in bullet, where I'm going to drop this bishop back to e3, by the way, where black has taken on d5, but after bishop takes d5, if they get greedy and play, if they play a pawn grabbing move like bishop takes d5, I can play rook c8 in between move, which it looks like it's going to happen. And
check.
After king h7, pawn takes d5, rook takes d5. I had 2 games against this grandmaster Barcenilla. He's Pikachu here on ICC, where he grabbed the pawn on d5. I went king e2, followed by a quick rook h to c1. And black's in some trouble because it's hard to free himself. So in essence, we're on move 19, but I'm still in my book. Like, I'd played this position before, so. It can be a little difficult to win this knight, but he is in a mortal pin here. Barring some huge change in the circumstances, he's not getting out of this pin. If e4, I'll play knight d2, attacking that pawn on e4. So he's starting to burn some time trying to figure out how to get out of this. Plays a5. Okay, I think that's also what Pikachu did. But I think rook h c1. We'll just play it. If e4 now, knight d2, bishop takes b2, I have rook 1 to c7, threatening the f7 pawn and also threatening rook b7. Looks like it might happen this way. So a5 was the better choice for black compared to taking on d5 and move 15. The exchange variation is not without venom. I know this line has a tendency to be pretty dull, but it's possible to play it for a win for white, especially if you like endgames, as I do. Not to go all Olegas on you guys, because I know Olegas likes this opening too, but it is a pretty good weapon. Okay, so rook 1 to c7, pinning his bishop. What's he going to do about that? I'd be threatening rook b7 then. If rook 1 to c7, knight a6, hoping for rook takes a8, knight takes c7, I have the in-between move rook takes g7. So I don't see any issue with this move. This is bad for black. I don't like his position whatsoever. Rook b7 is the threat. He can't move here. He can't play rook d7. I just take his rook and the knight is pinned. I might try to search that game that I was referencing against Barcenilla, because I played him at least twice in this line, and I think one of my games might have even reached this exact position. So I'll try to pull this up in the analysis, the post-game analysis. Okay, g5, so if I play rook b7, I guess they have f4. But my bishop's not even trapped. It could go to like b6, for instance. So maybe that development is okay for us. Let's just think about that for a second. We've got a little time here, so we can spend it. Rook b7, f4, bishop b6. Don't see a way out of that for him. And then there's so many loose things in his position. The bishop is pinned. Knight takes e4 is a threat. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. Maybe I could even play bishop c5, but I just thought bishop b6 instead of bishop c5 because on c5, my rook on c8 would be trying to defend the bishop and also attempting to take that knight on b8. So let's do this one. Knight takes e4 might also have been playable. Idea being that if he took my bishop, I have knight f6 check, forking the king and rook and exploiting that pin once again. But I thought maybe he could play rook e5 and reply to knight takes e4, so that's why I didn't do it. Let's take that. Maybe knight e4 now? Or just take on e3? Knight e4 looks dynamic, though, once again with that threat of knight f6. Yeah, let's do it. If rook e5, maybe bishop d4, go back and attack that rook. And then if rook takes e4, rook takes g7 is mate. This is picturesque. We're getting like all the pieces involved. Just make sure that he doesn't have... On bishop d4, does he have anything like knight c6? I don't think so. I can take it. Knight d7 doesn't make any sense, really. Yeah, I think this is good enough. Nice picture of coordination for white. Yeah, he plays knight c6, but I think we can just grab here. Don't even have to mess around with taking that rook in the corner, because then that allows knight takes d4. It gets messier. But now if he takes here, we have rook takes g7 in windmill. Actually, it's mate in 2, isn't it?
Check.
Take here, and then rook takes h6 mate.
Checkmate.
Okay, so we get the victory. Let's go back and have a look at that. So I've ran into some opponents who just won't even play e5. I mean, some of them might know that I play the exchange variation, but a lot of people just have it in their normal repertoire that they don't play e5 in this standard classical King's Indian position. So like knight a6 is one good way to try to sidestep the exchange variation if you're comfortable developing the knight through a6. Bishop g4 is an offbeat resource here that's not too bad for black. But e5, of course, is the main move. Note that if they try to play knight c6 first in preparation for e5, that does give white the option of d5, which I would play if I were the white player here. So e5, take, queen takes d8, rook takes d8, and two options, knight d5, or I believe the slightly more popular move, bishop g5. Bishop g5 endeavors to pin the knight and threaten knight d5. But after c6, there's quite a bit of theory. Knight d5 is, in my experience, a little bit less known. And, you know, black has to know what they're doing to equalize here. c6, bishop c4. Taking on d5 is fine. One line that black can play is take d5, bishop takes d5, and then knight c6. And after bishop g5, rook e8, black should equalize if they know a few more accurate moves. Although I wouldn't be unhappy to play the resulting positions necessarily. So he chose b5, which is also a move. Bishop b3, bishop b7, bishop g5. And as I said, f6 is out of the question for black because of this discovered check, just winning the house. So black must move the rook. Rook d7 is good because that maintains pressure on d5. Now, I don't want to take on c6 quite yet. I can play this rook c1 move and just crank up the pressure. And the idea is exactly as it occurred in the game. If he takes twice on d5, I have that in-between move, rook c8. So he played h6, that's fine, that's useful, it forces the bishop back. But now taking, I think, is a mistake. Black should play a5 to chase the bishop, and then a3. And I always forget exactly how it goes here. I think a4, bishop a2. And now it's a little bit better to take, now that these pawns have been pushed, like black's rook is opened up a little bit. Let me just throw the engine on to confirm. Yeah, if bishop takes d5, they don't even necessarily have to take here. They can play knight a6. You see the engine thinks white might retain like a very tiny edge. Bishop takes b7, rook takes b7, rook c6, or king e2, something like that. I found a lot of times the edge is brought about by the fact that white's king is a bit closer to the center than black's. So nothing that black shouldn't be able to overcome, but it's nice. Also, I think white's bishop is somewhat better than black's. It's already on a good post, observing both sides of the board, whereas black's bishop is kind of blocked by the e pawn. It'd love to be attacking b2, but it can't. Also, it has to stay tied to the h6 pawn. So instead, though, he takes d5. I take with the bishop, take again, and now rook c8, and black is going to be in this mortal pin. Yeah, I'm honestly not sure black can save the game after all this happens. You see the eval jumps up pretty significantly for white. Rook takes d5, king e2, plays a5. Maybe e4 right away is better. Knight d2. It's still pretty bad, though, isn't it? I don't see why I can't just do what I did in the game. Can maybe bring the bishop to e5 to try to guard the knight, but still. f3, trying to knock out this pawn. What if f4 then? F takes e4, take here, knight f3, and we're going to be winning one of these back. And black still can't complete development. I mean, just not a situation you want to find yourself in as black. White's down one pawn at the moment, but it's well worth it. So he plays a5. Just doubled up the rooks. Yeah, looks good. e4, knight d2. He could grab on b2, but that just facilitates my plan. Attacking the f7 pawn and also preparing rook b7. So instead, black plays f5, rook 1, c7, g5. But yep, we can just go rook b7, and we're not afraid of f4 because the bishop comes into b6. Yeah, knight e4. This is just over. And I think bishop d4 is a nice way to conclude it. So main point being that if rook takes e4, we have rook takes g7 mate. So he tried knight c6, hoping for complications after rook takes a8, knight takes d4, but rook takes c6 simply just ends all resistance. Black's down a piece, and he's about to lose even more material. So, yeah, black can easily get in trouble in this line. So if you're looking for kind of a calm weapon against the King's Indian and aren't afraid of playing an endgame and aren't unwilling to try to grind out a small advantage, this is a good line for you. Now, let me see if I can find that one game. It was a bullet game, so I'm not sure it's searchable. Is it Pikachu? No, it's not Pikachu. I could have sworn that this player had something to do with Pikachu in their name. If I can find the game, I'll tell you guys what it is. But, what's this bot named? Because the Grandmaster's name is Barcenilla. Bon Jovi? Yeah, I know he has a couple accounts, though. Let's search Finns versus Bon Jovi. None. Okay, well, that's a shame. But if I can find it, I'll post it in the comments to this. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Talk to you guys later. Bye.